All right, hey guys. I'm redoing a video that I did earlier. So I did a video this morning and I did think it was great, the content that I talked about, and it was something really important that I wanted to talk about. But I re-listened to it and I just felt like I cut it a little too short. All right. I was trying not to overwhelm you guys, but then there's a part of me that says, screw it. I'd rather overwhelm than underwhelm. So I'm going to redo it. Okay. So I was talking about how yesterday I was driving to where I get my milk. My mom and my sister live there, and it's a ways away. And my farm, the farm that I go to, is out there. And it was my mom's birthday yesterday. So I had a really busy day, and I was on my way out there, and I was listening to Radio Lab. I believe it was Radio Lab. I know there's a couple different programs that talk about interesting stuff on the radio, and I think it was Radio Lab. And they were interviewing this doctor, and it was about bacterial resistance, about bacteria that become resistant to antibiotics, and how it's like such a huge thing. And I liked the program. It was decent. Of course, a part of me was like internally, I was like screaming at the radio, like I should be on your stage, because I would be asking a lot of much bigger questions. Like I would have been asking this doctor questions that probably he wouldn't have even been able to answer, because his mind, he's a doctor. His mind is like, whatever. And it boggles my mind that anyone in the field of medicine that has been doing it like for a while and sees how bacteria are, resisting antibiotics and how, all of these things, whatever, that they don't grasp fully that nature is in control and that humans are not nearly as smart as they think they are, and that our big brains and our ability to create all this shit has really like been a fucking disaster for the most part. Like they are trying to win a race that isn't winnable, because it's not a fucking race, right? Like it's not a race against bacteria making us sick. It's not a race against viruses. It's not a race against disease, right? It's not a race. These things are a byproduct of the environment. It is a byproduct of the reality that we are biological systems living in a larger biological system, and we are part of that biological system. We are not separate from it. And most doctors don't fucking understand this, which is why I've always said doctors are some of the dumbest people you could ever speak to. They're so myopic, and they've been so brainwashed and manipulated to see things in isolation that they cannot see the forest through the trees. Like it is baffling to me. Not baffling. I guess I'm not surprised, because I understand the brainwashing is really powerful, but people that have the ability to learn some of the most complex subjects, but they are just so not intelligent when it comes to seeing the bigger picture. And again, I hate to be that person, because, there are some good doctors out there, and there are some people that see more, than the average, but man, they're the minority. So anyway, the doctor that was on the stage that they were interviewing, he talked about some interesting things. And again, but he did go far enough. And I wish that he went further, but he was talking about bacteria that mutate really quickly and are able to mutate really, really rapidly against antibiotics. Now, I could get into the different layers and the nuances, which would really take a very long time, and I don't want this video to be super, super long. So I'm just going to kind of sum it up and say that he was talking about right now, there's so many bacteria that people are getting sick from. I don't want to say making people sick, okay? That people are getting sick from, and there are no treatments for them. and they're literally just throwing anything and everything at it. They're just throwing massive amounts of antibiotics at it, hoping to kill it. And probably what they're doing is killing the person. My feeling is let it go, use some natural medicine, do some old school natural treatments, and hope that the body can overcome it. And in some cases, it will. Okay. Because once you start throwing massive amounts of, antibiotics, you're creating a massive cellular assault. You are basically making a toxic soup in the body that is even worse than what the bacteria is doing. And you can really create the situation to be much more dangerous and much worse for the person. So it's really just a fucked up approach. Like it's crazy to me. And you have to realize too how far we have fallen. So humans are getting sicker and sicker, okay? Chronic disease and all sorts of imbalances in the body are the norm now. We are absolutely not healthy. So to say that bacteria are stronger in their ability to make us sick, I don't know if that's true. It's probably because our bodies are just so much weaker, but they are able to become resistant to the antibiotics, which are directly trying to kill them, right? So our bodies are not directly trying to kill bacteria. We are bacteria. Our bodies are mostly made up of bacteria and viruses. The human cells in our body are the minority, okay? I think it's like 10-1 or something. It's like the amount of human that exists in our body is exponentially smaller than the amount of non-human cells, bacteria, viruses, and other things, okay? So we are basically a vessel for these other life forms, which are part of us. Again, we are part of an entire biological system inside of nature's biological system, and it's all interconnected. Everything is sending signals. Everything is communicating all the time. All the time. Okay? And this is why I am so opposed to synthetic shit. Because when you start having all of these synthetic chemicals and signals interfering with the natural signals, it's gonna go badly. Okay? Because it's not in alignment with the greater ecosystem, with the greater environmental system that is a combination of all of the different signals, all of the different life forms. And yes, viruses, are a life form. And I know people want to get into the whole semantics. It's a fucking life form, okay? It's a life form. It's just different than what we think of. It's different than what some scientists consider to be living. And I say that's bullshit. I say they are living. They're just living in a different capacity. They're living in a way that kind of defies what we've been led to believe is a life form, okay? Because we know that viruses, in order for them to reproduce, they have to be inside of a host cell, all right? Which means clearly nature knows what nature's doing. And in order for a virus to get into a human cell, our human cell has to actually unlock it. And we've been taught that viruses hijack our cells. And I don't believe that it's that simple. I don't believe that that is what is happening. I believe that there is a complex communication system, which has actually been proven. I'm going to say this is what I believe. I know it's been proven, okay? But Google isn't going to tell you this, all right? That the human cell and the virus are actually in direct communication with one another. And it's only when the human cell gets to a certain level of functioning that it actually opens up and the virus is able to get in there. It is like a two-way street. It is two-way communication. Now, when cells get damaged and cells get full of toxins and they're not operating from their optimal program, viruses are able to enter and literally basically reprogram that cell, okay? And what it does is it allows the viruses to multiply. The virus does its thing. Either you survive or you die. Okay. And if you survive, you now have basically this upgraded software. So viruses, I don't even want to get into the whole pathogenic, not pathogenic, because that just gets into some fuckery and some nuanced stuff that I'm not even going to go there because it'll take hours to talk about that. Okay. So we now have an upgraded software if we survive this viral interfacing with our cells, okay? We're basically reprogrammed, okay? And we're programmed for better survival on this planet because that's the way nature operates, right? Nature is always trying to upgrade. The problem is that so many things in our society and our environment are keeping us weak, keeping us less than, keeping us debilitated, keeping our bodies in a state of degradation instead of integrity and integration, meaning moving, I don't want to say upward because I don't believe it moves that way, but that we are not necessarily able to stay in this constantly upgrading situation because of all of the insults that we have that are keeping us down. Okay. So when we get a viral infection, so to speak, instead of being upgraded, it actually beats us down because we don't have the resources to be able to fully overcome it and to be fully integrated and to move forward because our bodies are so weak. We are living in a state of such weakness. Just like chronic disease is so rampant, more and more cancer, especially in the younger generation. And we know there's a million reasons for it, but there's a couple really big ones that we can see when we just look back not too far, okay? And we've been, really going downhill with our health since the Industrial Revolution. It's just been a nail in the human coffin, and the animals too, because the animals are subject to all the pollution and all the environmental toxins that are in the air, stuff getting into the soil and, all of that. So every life form is suffering, and the fact that we're not all dead is quite a testimony to nature, okay? And how nature is definitely still working to keep us here, all right? So it's pretty impressive. And, there's definitely people that are like in the camp of like, oh, there's no such thing as viruses. Of course there's viruses. They're some of the oldest things on this planet along with bacteria. And bacteria and viruses are actually one of the primary dominating forces on this planet. It's almost like they own the space. They own the platform. They own the station. It's almost like they own the environment, okay, the ecosystem. And then everything else has to be in harmony and in alignment with that. And to say viruses don't exist, it's genetic material with a protein coat. Like, seriously. Okay, they exist. And, the thing is that when they're inside the body, because we have exosomes, right? We have exosomes as well. And they are very similar. The difference is that the human exosomes have human DNA. The viral, same thing, okay, have non-human DNA. But yet we share an ecosystem and we are communicating with each other and we are one and the same. But that's a little bit of a mind fuck for people. And, I don't really understand the motive behind the no virus movement. I really, really don't. Because, anybody who has sense in their head understands the terrain theory, right? Understands that very clearly. And knows that there has to be the right environment for bacteria and viruses to become what we call pathogenic, right? We know that. And if they can do it without that toxic environment, it's because they were made in a freaking laboratory, all right? And these, lab created monsters are bioweapons, all right? They're poisons and toxins and bioweapons, which would operate differently than something that was created by nature, okay? Nature just has a very specific way of functioning and operating. And when you go outside of that and start trying to manipulate, it is going to cause a lot of problems in the system. But the one thing that we see again and again and again is nature's ability to adapt and to shift rather rapidly to these changing environments to continue to overcome. And if you look at bacteria and how it's been resisting the antibiotics to just continue to overcome, it does give me hope that right now, what we're all going through, humanity and life forms on this planet, is we are going through an evolutionary stage to be able to overcome the insults that are basically on the brink of damaging life forms on this planet to a degree that, we may not be able to bounce back. But what's really interesting is that we are definitely experiencing a time right now where human DNA is unfolding from 2 to 4 strands. And a lot of our junk DNA is being reactivated. And you can look this up. This is science, okay? You have to poke and probe AI a little bit to get to the answer, but it's there. It's there, okay? It was actually published in scientific magazines. It's there, but Google likes to hide it from you, okay? It's there, all right? This is happening. Okay, our brain is actually starting to become reactivated. Okay, the dormant parts of the brain are becoming reactivated. Now, I'm not saying it's happening for every single human on the planet, but it is happening enough that the powers that be are freaking the fuck out, which is why they have all of their electromagnetic weapons, all of their CRISPR technology weapons, all of their cyborg weapons, their brain chips, all of their weapons, their digital prison. Okay, they are desperate because humanity is going through this upgrade right now. The planet is going through this upgrade. And again, it doesn't mean every single human, it doesn't mean every single life form, but there is something really happening. And this is science and this is known. I'm not just babbling. This isn't woo. This is absolutely established, okay? And if you look at what's going on with the sun and what's going on with the planet and the electromagnetic frequencies and the poles and all of the electromagnetic energy between the sun and the earth and the plasma, we are in a major, major transformational stage right now. And it almost seems like nature as a whole ecosystem, including the sun and the planet, is literally upgrading because the threat from the synthetic matrix system is getting to be so great that it is threatening survival on this planet. Okay, it's threatening survival to carbon-based life forms. Okay, carbon-based life forms. And you can see this narrative with the whole climate change, global warming, CO2 is the problem. No. CO2 is not the problem. Now, I understand that because of the way we've exploited fossil fuels, there's nothing wrong with fossil fuels, by the way, but it's the way humans have exploited them. And the fact that humans have used fossil fuel. I don't know that I even like that word. Let's just say the blood of the earth, because that's what the ancients called it, or black gold, blood of the earth, okay? That is basically stored carbon. And when you release it in the amounts that we have released it into the atmosphere, it is going to create massive amounts of CO2, okay? But what I want to say is that there have been times in history where the CO2 on this planet has been significantly higher than it is today, and it was a time known of abundant life. Abundant, okay? It doesn't harm life, it encourages life, okay? Because with increased CO2, whether or not we're in a warming phase, it doesn't appear that we're in a warming phase, not when you actually really look at the evidence. I'm not talking about the bullshit you hear from the peanut gallery. I'm talking about the real evidence, okay? Parts of the planet are getting colder, some parts are getting warmer, and there's other parts that haven't changed that much. That seems normal, okay? That seems normal. There's definitely more flux for sure, but think about it. The electromagnetic field is changing on the planet. The sun and what the sun is doing is definitely affecting our atmosphere and our planet. So there's a lot of factors coming into this. But the whole fact that there's more CO2 being released into the environment, okay, is only going to make life grow more, okay? Because that's what CO2 does, okay? It triggers this whole cascade of sequences in effect that literally start rolling out that encourage more life on this planet, okay? So they want us to think it's a bad thing and that it's going to harm life, but it's actually going to help life, okay? Now, I am not saying that all of the synthetic shit and chemicals that they've made from petrochemicals is a good thing, okay? Well, petrochemicals that they've made from petroleum. That's what I wanted to say. I'm talking a little fast because I want to get through this video quickly. I don't want to have you guys here for 2 hours. So all of these man-made chemicals since the Industrial Revolution are so out of alignment with nature that yes, they are a huge problem, and they have been poisoning humanity the whole time. And we are sicker now than ever before. And even though modern medicine likes us to not know our real history, but the real history is that we were far healthier in the past, and the Industrial Revolution has just basically tanked human health. It's damaged our DNA. It has actually made our bodies weaker and less resilient and less strong. Our food has become complete shit. We are hunters and gatherers. We are supposed to be eating a heavy meat-based diet, and we have gone to eating agricultural crap, slop, which is not human food. So I'm going to run because my phone is ringing. It's my daughter. I'm going to be back. I'm going to be signing out for now.